זהו יומו האחרון של ביקור היסטורי אחר הניצחון ההיסטורי במלחמה נגד איראן.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met at the White House Monday evening.
An admiration not only of all Israelis.
He lives behind $5 million walls, rides in a $50 million motorcade, and dines with kings while missiles fall just miles away. He calls it leadership. Critics call it indulgence. But where does Benjamin Netanyahu's billionaire lifestyle really begin? And how much of it does Israel actually pay for? Let's break down the empire behind the most controversial man in Israeli history, the power player behind the fortress. Benjamin Netanyahu has led Israel longer than any other prime minister in its history, over 17 years in total. But the man behind the title is more than just a career politician. He's a former commando, an Ivy League scholar, and a strategist who's managed to return to power time and time again, despite scandals, public protests, and intense political opposition. Born in Tel Aviv in 1949, Netanyahu grew up in a household driven by ideology and ambition. His father, Benzion Netanyahu, was a world-renowned historian and staunch Zionist thinker. His mother, Tzila, was the quiet foundation of the family. Expectations were sky-high from day one. At just 18, Netanyahu joined Sayeret Matkal, Israel's most elite special forces unit. He wasn't just signing up to serve, he was being shaped into a national symbol. His rise into politics was anything but accidental. After completing military service, Netanyahu headed to the US, earning degrees from both MIT and Harvard. Armed with that prestige, he returned to Israel not as a soldier, but as a statesman in waiting. By 1996, he became Israel's youngest ever prime minister at just 46 years old, as reported by Reuters. That moment marked the beginning of a political journey filled with power plays, strategic alliances, and constant reinvention. Billionaire lifestyle, public expense. Let's start with what we know. Netanyahu has authored best-selling books, most notably A Place Among the Nations, published in 1995, which continues to earn him royalties decades later. That success, combined with US speaking tours reportedly commanding $50,000 per appearance, has padded his personal fortune significantly. In 2024, Reuters revealed leaked financial documents that linked Netanyahu to undisclosed investments in major blue-chip companies like Disney and Electronic Arts. These holdings raised eyebrows not just for their size, but because of how quietly they'd been maintained. Publicly, he was still receiving an official annual salary of about $170,200, according to Israeli government disclosures. But privately, it was clear his portfolio extended far beyond that paycheck. And then there's the issue of spending. According to Haaretz, back in 2020, Netanyahu and his wife Sarah allegedly used public funds to purchase gourmet meals, private chefs, and top-shelf wines, even while a full-time government chef was already on duty. These weren't rumors. In 2019, The Guardian reported that Sarah Netanyahu was actually convicted for misusing state funds, ordering nearly $100,000 in catered meals. That scandal didn't just draw criticism, it ignited public fury. The optics were damning. Yet, Netanyahu's political machine didn't flinch. The empire endured, and the public was left asking, where does his $13 million estimated net worth really come from? Part of that wealth lies in real estate. Netanyahu owns multiple properties, including a private villa in Caesarea, an ultra-exclusive coastal town where villas easily reach $5 million. Then there's his luxury penthouse in Jerusalem, valued at roughly $10 million, and an inherited family home also in Jerusalem. According to Ynet News in 2019, the Caesarea home stands out not just for its architecture, but for its symbolism. It's more than a residence, it's a fortress. Perched near the Mediterranean Sea, surrounded by palm trees and guarded like a state facility, this is where Netanyahu retreats from public life. But the luxury hasn't gone unchallenged. In late 2024, a Hezbollah-launched drone actually struck the property, smashing the prime minister's bedroom window. Security footage showed shattered glass and a damaged structure, proof that even paradise has its dangers. Only weeks later, flash bombs were thrown into the villa's garden, further escalating security concerns. Reuters confirmed the November 2024 attack, which intensified debate over how much Israel should continue funding Netanyahu's personal protection. Between 2010 and 2015, maintenance and staffing for the villa alone cost Israeli taxpayers more than 300,000 shekels annually. Critics argue the expenses aren't just about safety, they're about maintaining a luxurious lifestyle under the guise of national duty. Even Netanyahu's travel style comes with a hefty price tag. When he moves, it's never low profile. His motorcade includes over 20 armored vehicles, each worth more than $1 million, outfitted with bulletproof glass, military-grade shielding, and counter-surveillance tech. According to Reuters, the total value of this convoy exceeds $40 to $50 million. These aren't ordinary government cars, they're custom-built by elite defense manufacturers, the kind used by heads of state and battlefield generals. And that doesn't even include access to private jets and helicopters that Netanyahu is believed to use for long-distance travel, family, influence, and hidden wealth. Netanyahu's personal life is tightly intertwined with his political identity. He's been married 3 times. His first marriage to Miriam Weissman produced a daughter, Noah, but ended after allegations of an affair while he was posted in Washington. He publicly admitted to the affair during a televised interview in 1997, a rare crack in his usually impenetrable image. His second marriage to British-born Fleur Cates ended quietly, reportedly due to ideological differences. But it's his third and current marriage to Sarah Netanyahu that has made the most headlines. Sarah, a former flight attendant turned psychologist, has been a lightning rod for controversy. Beyond her conviction for misusing public funds, she's been accused of mistreating staff, bullying aides, and turning the Prime Minister's residence into a hostile workplace. Yet Netanyahu has always stood by her, refusing to distance himself even when public pressure mounted. Their son Yair Netanyahu is no stranger to controversy either. In 2017, Haaretz revealed that Yair used a government-provided driver and security detail to visit a strip club. The scandal spiraled into a media circus, yet Yair continued to post inflammatory political opinions on social media, often targeting journalists and opposition figures. The younger son, Avner, has stayed out of the spotlight for the most part. That changed in 2025 when Netanyahu announced that Avner's wedding was being postponed due to the conflict with Iran. The Guardian quoted him saying, "A personal cost I'm willing to pay." But many in Israel saw it as tone-deaf, another attempt to draw sympathy while the nation faced missile strikes and political unrest. Behind the scenes, Netanyahu's connections to global financiers remain one of his most guarded secrets. Over the years, he's built relationships with ultra-wealthy donors from the US to Europe, turning foreign policy into a network of favors and alliances. These connections aren't always public, but they offer him something no salary ever could: long-term influence. In 2025, amid a ceasefire agreement with Iran, Netanyahu's foreign meetings raised eyebrows again. Reuters confirmed that while conflict still simmered, Netanyahu was hosting closed-door briefings with US political players and foreign investors. What the wealth reveals. So what does $13 million buy a man like Netanyahu? It buys 3 luxury homes. It buys armored vehicles and round-the-clock security. It buys exclusive dinners, global travel, and silent control over political narratives. But more than anything, it buys time. Time to wait out scandals. Time to rebuild coalitions. Time to return to power again and again. It's no accident that Netanyahu has outlasted every other Israeli prime minister. His story isn't about one election win, it's about strategic survival. He's weathered corruption probes, judicial battles, international criticism, and mass protests. Yet his wealth, connections, and political instincts have kept him in the game. And as of 2025, he's still not done. Though multiple scandals, including the Catgate affair, continue to unfold, where close aides are accused of accepting funds from Qatari intermediaries, Netanyahu continues to frame himself as Israel's indispensable leader. Even after Israeli intelligence agencies raised alarms and mass protests broke out across the country, Netanyahu doubled down, attempting to dismiss Shin Bet director Ronen Bar as the investigation closed in. The Times of Israel confirmed the move sparked a legal battle, and the Supreme Court was forced to intervene. It wasn't just a scandal, it became a constitutional crisis. Protesters filled the streets, the motorcade still rolled, and Netanyahu once again held the center of power. Power, privacy, and a price. The billionaire life of Benjamin Netanyahu isn't just built on luxury, it's built on perception. It's about carefully crafting an image that blends statesmanship with strength, family with fortitude, security with wealth. His real fortune may be estimated at $13 million, but the influence he holds, the armored cars, the villas, the elite networks, is worth far more. And much of it, critics argue, has been funded or protected by the very state he's sworn to serve. So now the question turns to you. Should public power come with private luxury? Or should there be a line between leadership and lifestyle? Let us know in the comments. And if this deep dive opened your eyes to the real cost of power, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks politics is just policy. Because sometimes, what's hidden behind the curtain says more than any headline ever could. He lives behind $5 million walls, rides in a $50 million motorcade, and dines with kings while missiles fall just miles away. He calls it leadership. Critics call it indulgence. But where does Benjamin Netanyahu's billionaire lifestyle really begin? And how much of it does Israel actually pay for? Let's break down the empire behind the most controversial man in Israeli history.